Carl and Liam here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's tier list time. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Season 3, 13 episodes. As always, we're going to place them into a tier list where the best will go through to eventually a final round for us to hopefully work out when we get to it what will be what we consider the best episode overall. We have a tier list for season 1. We have a tier list for season 2, and we are now looking at season 3. 13 episodes to go in the best, good, okay, meh, or the worst. And we begin with the Tale of the Midnight Ride. Basically, a variation on the Headless Horseman, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Yeah, this I remember. Now, it's been a while since we actually recorded this video, so memory of this one's actually a little bit light, which is intriguing because it means the episode didn't stand out. But I remember the visuals. I remember the nighttime scenes.
Mm.
I remember the look of the Headless Horseman. I remember the characters. He's quite a nerdy character as well. But I remember this as well. I don't care for the Legend of Sleepy Hollow story, full stop. So having a Are You Afraid of the Dark one, a light version of it, did nothing for me. Did nothing for me at all. So I know I would have put this one, but do you have a different feel?
And I think that was our general feel on it, in that, like, yeah, I mean, it didn't do much for us. Like, either of us are big fans of the story, but I do think I remember praising it for saying that it did like a good job of like condensing it into like a short story for like younger viewers, and it had some okay visuals of like the headless horseman on the horse and stuff like that. But I remember being a big fan of this one particularly in general. So yeah, it's gonna go
Okay,
on the
this is middle, right? I think we start by putting this one in the middle. I think an okay, putting an okay is a decent place for it.
yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay. The Tale of Apartment 214. Of course, this is about Stacy and her mother moving to a new apartment where there's an empty one across the way, or at least it appears to be empty, except Stacy meets a kindly old woman that lives there, who turns out to have been a ghost all along, and an obsessive ghost, resulting in what I said at the time is one of the most frightening scenes of all. I'd see the date in Are You Afraid of the Dark? I stand by those words. And this one stands out strongly in my memory. It, as a story, isn't the most inspired. It's a ghost story, the ghost next door story, basically. We've kind of seen it before. However, a story like this, a classic ghost story, doesn't make it a bad ghost story. And I remember it being quite a sad story overall. Right? It's got a bit of a weird happy ending, which I don't particularly love, but it's a sad story with some nice scares that I think work really, really well. I'm leaning towards top for this.
Yes, I remember, you mentioned some of the aspects there and us being quite positive about a lot of it. Yeah, I remember being quite a fan of this one. So, I'm more than happy to see this going up on the higher levels of probably good, I would say.
But not the best. You don't think the best?
No, because like other than that, as you say, I think a good way to like measure whether or not these episodes are truly great is to base it on like how memorable they are. And other than
Yeah.
that one scene, which is great, it is a really great scene. That's probably what catapulted right up there. But like other than that, it's kind of other than that, I can't remember too much else about it. So I don't think it gets to go in the best for that reason.
I will agree with you on that. I think yes, I remember that scene, a couple of others involving as a sort of scary vibe more than anything else. But yeah, outside of that, it's a struggle. And talking
Mm,
about a struggle to remember, how about the Tale of Watcher's Woods? This is witches in the woods, which turn out to be
oh,
lost hiking girls,
mm,
and another group of girls who were there as a camp thing, end up discovering them, getting captured, and having to find their whistles to free them from a curse.
mm.
It's very fantastical. Oh, and there's also a demon creature, like a watcher in the woods, which chases one of the girls at the end, but is basically very ineffective too. I remember this one sucking.
Mm. It's interesting because even though this one is of a lower quality, I do remember a lot more about it. Like
Do
all
you
those
think that's
things.
because it's quite fantastical though? It's because it's
Mm.
well, like it's witches, the woods, it's colorful. I
Yeah,
remember
it's
being quite
like
colorful.
a lot of there's just so many elements to it. I remember us thinking it was quite convoluted, and it sounds it by the way you re-described it there. But I don't remember thinking it was that great either, which is a
Hmm.
problem because it was a bit too complicated. Didn't make much sense. There was a lot of like things like letting them go off into the woods and stuff. Like a lot of things just didn't make any sense of like
Yeah.
the way that this camp was doing things and stuff. So where should it go?
Meh. This is low
Meh.
down to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think meh's fine. I'll put it in there.
Cool. God, this season three was really, really difficult to begin with because then we have the tale of the phone police, which is a really dumb story about
Mm,
using a phone, I guess, basically making prank calls and then getting the eye of the phone police who come and erase your identity. And what we have here is less of like a horror story and more of like a thriller, like a science fiction thriller, except we've seen this stuff before. It's kind of like a shady agency chasing around a kid. There was one in Goosebumps that was kind of like dreams, and the kid was being followed for dreams by these agents. It reminds
mm,
me of that, except that was creative. This isn't.
mm,
Instead, it's them. Like for example, oh, they go to the phone company and then they're discovering like down in the basement get that there's cells down there. Like it's an actual police force rather than it being something fantastical. It takes itself really seriously as well. And like you think there's supposed to be a story about rescuing this person who was erased once before, but that's only a plot device to fill in the main character learning the details later on. Um, I struggle to put this one in the worst because like that feels really harsh for a lot of episodes, but
mm.
man, this is a male one for me.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's like positive aspects of it. I can't really think of many. And like you said, it's basically just trying to tell a big moral story about not making prank calls, really. And I remember one of the things that really annoyed me about the episode was the main character really get there's no real consequences to the actions like in any way. It kind of just like has all these things that maybe will happen if like they don't like improve their ways, but it doesn't feel like they really went on any kind of journey of like improving themselves throughout the episode. And like I felt like they would probably just continue their ways after it anyway because there wasn't any actual consequences to it, kind of thing. So,
What moral can you tell in that? Don't make prank phone calls.
yeah, it was just like a very thin concept, and then they tried to stretch it out. This is just one that didn't really work that well for me. So, I'd happily put it in the worst personally because
Let's
I
do
just,
it.
yeah,
Let's do it. I didn't say anything positive about it, so yeah, you've talked enough and added enough there. Okay, the tale of the doll maker. This is a girl who returns to, I guess, her holiday home, hoping to see her friend to find that her friend's moved away, disappeared without telling her. She ends up discovering a dollhouse in the attic of her friend's empty house, and through that finds a portal that leads to a mysterious place that relates to the disappearance of her friend. There's a nice mystery here spread around some interesting visuals about someone turning into a living doll.
mm,
However, I remember we were very critical of the fact that there was no sort of villain in it, that the dollhouse itself is a villain, so to speak. And rather than sort of revealing at the end that it was something sinister and the cause of, say, her parents and all that, we just get a happy ending where she's rescued, and that's it. And like that was fine. I don't think this is like a bad episode, but I also don't think outside of the doll related visuals that I remember that much from it.
yeah. This is an episode that is definitely held up by how memorable some of the imagery is, with the girl looking like a doll and her hands turning into China doll hands and that kind of stuff. And it like is doing quite, I remember saying it was doing really well up to a certain point, and then it gets to a certain point where it kind of has to figure out where it's going to be going.
Yeah.
And like the resolution and payoff to the whole thing is just like very disappointing. Whereas like the first two thirds I think are like strong, but then like the final act part kind of like lets it down. So that probably drags it down, unfortunately, probably into like okay, I guess.
Okay, is a good shout because I do think you're right. I think when it's mysterious is where it's most enjoyable. When it stops being mysterious, you're like, oh, okay, now what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Better or worse than the Tale of the Midnight Ride, though. Oof.
Mm,
Maybe, maybe better
mm,
because it's the least mysterious. The Tale of the Midnight Ride isn't mysterious. It's the Ichabod Crane story.
yeah, it's better.
There we go then. It's ahead. Okay, the Tale of the Bookish Babysitter. Hey, one reason why you remember this, and it's Belinda. And that is it. It's as simple as that, which is the main character of Belinda, who plays the witch slash storyteller. This is about books that come to life. And while that should have come up with creative ideas, it ends up falling down into the same old boorish stuff. We have a knight, we have a witch, which to be fair is an energetic character and quite screamy and laughy, that kind of thing. But for the most part, this is really, really dull. And I just remember it so much as the main character, the boy, all he ever does is underreact to everything and ask questions out loud.
Yeah, and this is another example of a character which I don't feel like really goes through any kind of journey of like discovery or like change in any way. Like I don't feel like by the end of this story he is any different. Like she's made an impact. I feel like he'll forget about this whole thing in like a few weeks, or like he'll act like he'll think it was a dream or something. Because why would he think it was real? And like
Yeah.
I mean, we were quite critical on like certain aspects of how like Belinda can go around doing this and like how it just like makes like little sense kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
and like you said, the only thing I remember about this episode is yes, Belinda, the actress, is good in it, no doubt, and her turning into a witch is a cool scene. But other than that, like that's all it has going for it. So it goes into May, I think.
Better or worse than the Taylor Watchers Woods?
I
That's
feel
a
like
tough one.
Watchers Wood had probably has like more is probably like worse technically, but has like more memorable things in it. Like I remember that more, and I probably if I had to rewatch one, I'd probably prefer to rewatch Watchers Wood maybe.
Yeah, that's it. I prefer to watch Watchers Woods as well. At
Yeah.
least we get the visuals of the witches and stuff. Yep, right. So worse. That's a
Mm.
meh. Okay, we are not having a good time with this season, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get better with the Tale of the Carved Stone. This is a lonely girl moves into a house and ends up buying a magic stone from our favorite Sardo, which allows her somehow to connect with a mirror and then transport back to the centuries before, where she meets another lonely boy, and they become friends over time. But there's also a villain, a brother Septimus, played by Frank Gorshin, to be fair, so that's pretty cool. But he wants this stone as apparently it allows him. He's a monk who can time travel, and he needs that stone to be able to continue to travel through time. So he starts chasing after them. It's a weird story. It's certainly got strong actors because they say Frank Gorshin, but of course Richard Dumont as Sardo is in it and plays a fairly prominent role in this one, and even has a bit more of a heroic line. But I don't know. I don't in my head. I'm automatically going, okay, and then what? Like, and then what? What was it about this that you either really didn't like or really did like? And I'm kind of like there was neither. It's a middle one for me.
Yeah, because like the only two really great things about this episode is Sardo and like the monk character and like their little interactions on screen. There's like that really great scene where Sardo is like being held captive by
Course.
him with his hand, and he has to like fight away from his art hand to correct them getting his name wrong,
Does
and that's
that
like
does that knock it up to good just for that
that's like
specific scene?
for, for comedic value and timing, like that's just so good. So like I feel
Yeah.
like
Let's
that
put it in
is
good
worth.
just for that.
Yeah, like I'd rewatch the episode just to see that scene again. So
There you go, folks. Watch the Tale of the Carved Stone for that one particular scene. It won't go ahead of the Apartment 214 because that's too much, but
no,
it's in
no.
good for that one. You remind me that was hilariously funny. I'm laughing now when I think about it.
Yeah, I can't see what else happens in the episode, but that is like gold. So
Fabulous. All right, episode 8, The Tale of the Guardian's Curse. It's an Egypt one. It's a mummy that comes to life. Turns out there's a curse that involves certain different, too many different items. You think the mummy's come to life, then it turns out the mummy hasn't come to life, and actually it's just her father's workmate who wants money and is evil for that. But then it turns out the mummy has come to life. They are able to resurrect it into a pretty woman, and then her father hopes to bang that pretty woman later
oh
on,
yeah,
further down the line. You remember this one now,
I remember
yeah?
that now. Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
that that dad man, he's a cheeky guy. That one. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the tale of the Gardener's Curse. Look, I'm this ties into Goosebumps. We said at the time and I'm repeating it here. Mummy stuff in these sort of shows always suck, and this one sucks too.
yeah. All I have to say is stop. Just I've had enough. I don't want to see it anymore. Please God, no more Money Mummy episodes.
Please God, I think this is meh, bottom of meh of the Bookish Babysitter on Watchers Woods.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not the worst, folks, purely because of the comedy that we ended up doing for the idea of the father desperately wanting to bang that mummy, resurrected mummy.
yeah. And I think it had some like nice visuals that the mummy looked good, and there was some like oozing and stuff. If I recall, was pretty good. That's it.
Fair enough. Episode 9, The Tale of the Curious Camera. It's Say Cheese and Die, but worse. Somehow, this is Say Cheese
That's
and Die
it.
again. That's the
Yeah.
level. That's the level. This is that Say Cheese and Die again, which was a terrible episode. This is that, but using the same plot points and some of the same ideas from the original Say Cheese and Die, but worse. It even has some of the same goddamn actors. And when we did the
Yeah.
episode, we talked. It was the director. Yeah, Ron Oliver said he even cast people later on in Say Cheese and Die because they did this episode. Man, um, this is the worst.
It is. It is in the worst by far because it's just like you said. It is literally Sages and Diabot, just like really badly done. And you have the actor playing Spidey. Who was he's up there. I think in the like eccentric actors that we've seen in all these shows. I think he's right up there. And you've just got him doing like this really like boring character. So it's just like you've got him, but he's not Spidey. So it's just automatically like 10 times worse.
Yeah, we should mention Eddie K. Thomas is in it, but Eddie K. Thomas is an iffy actor at the best of times, and there's nothing special here. The notable person is Christian Tessa in it, but even then as well, he's just playing a bully character, and we've seen that before from him. The worst, you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Better or worse than a Tale of the Phone Police? Now, I think it goes bottom purely
Mm.
because it's not even it's just a, it's Say Cheese and Die Again.
It's not a good competition, really. But yeah, I'd put it underneath it.
All right, The Tale of the Dream Girl. This is one of
Ooh,
those
divisive,
interesting
maybe.
ones. Yeah, because this is telling a story that isn't really a horror, it's more of a drama, an emotional drama about death more than anything else. Johnny is being haunted by a girl, basically, and it's confusing him, and strange things are going on around him, leading to an eventual reveal basically that he died in a car crash with this girl, and that he's not been able to move on, and his sister has struggled to not only tell him but find a way to express that to him, leading to an end where eventually he does move on. It's not it's deep basically, and
Mm.
it results in some twisted logic and areas where, because it's trying to keep you guessing all the way to the end, they end up really going a little over the top with some of the surrealist aspects. There's a diner scene that is cool and interesting, but by the end, you start getting sick and tired of the whole misdirection when you kind of know what's going on. It's kind of obvious, particularly because of the sounds. You keep hearing the sounds of trains and crashing and stuff like that. And it's like, look, we all know what's going on here, yet you're still trying to misdirect us. And I think there could have been more benefit from telling us earlier on what the deal was and then dealing with the fallout of him finding a way to move on that way. But I won't say I dislike. I do like stuff like this in Are You Afraid of the Dark? I like the emotional stories, even if, and I remember this one quite strongly, even if I know it's not traditional, and I know you prefer traditional.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest. I actually do love this episode, because it's just one of the episodes I think that like a lot of people remember, because like even though it's something that looking back as as older people now watching it, we both kind of figured it out so quickly and whatnot. Like I do think I made mention of the fact that like watching this at a younger age, you don't really pick up on like some of these things, even if they seem like really obvious.
Yeah.
It's got like you know so like I think that kind of adds to like the positivity a little bit, like when you think about it from that perspective. And I thought the acting is really strong in it. It has a lot of really nice imagery and atmosphere, and I think it just tells like a really like nice sort of like ghost story and everything, like a little bit different, like you say, not exactly traditional. Maybe some of the stuff that I normally prefer to see, but I do think it stands out for being very memorable as well. So, I'm actually a really big fan of this episode. So I would happily see it on like the higher tier.
Let's put it in the best then. We haven't got anything in the best, and I think this might be the only one that goes in the best. So let's do it. We need one from season three to go forward, and I was a fan enough of this.
Cool.
All right, The Tale of the Quicksilver, episode 11. Basically, a girl dies in the fire. You'll know her as Tatiana Ali, of course, from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She dies in a fire, and then two boys end up being haunted by her, but maybe not her. Maybe by a demon called Quicksilver, which is a shit name for a demon. But maybe also her, or maybe they're both combined. And it's something about a locket and a magic spell, and that's it. Yeah. Got anything to add
Yeah.
there?
No, I mean, I think this episode is really forgettable. Like every time I see this episode, I'm like, oh my God, look, it's that actress. But I remember nothing else about it straight away. And I'm like, how do I not remember this episode? Because I think you'd think I would, because we've watched a lot of these episodes have memorable actors in them, and I always kind of like remember them being in it. But I always forget that she was in it because this episode is so terrible and forgettable. I can't even tell you what happens in it. It's like I don't even, other than the fact that we thought it was really brave and like they kill off a kid straight away in that opening in a fire. That's like quite dark.
Yeah.
Like what else happens? I don't even, I couldn't even tell you really,
I just
honestly.
always remember the Quicksilver just sort of like it's like, oh my God, the demon's here, be quick, it's gonna get us. But it's like at that speed, it's doing that. I just remember that more
Yeah,
than anything else.
no, this is not good. This is not good at all.
How
I think
low do
it's
we
got,
go? The worst?
I mean,
Oh
the acting
man.
was like, the acting wasn't too bad, I guess, to be fair. I mean, does it deserve to be called the worst? I mean, I
Nah.
always think like, I just would always say that things are bad if they are forgettable. Even if something is terrible and memorable, I think it makes it better. You know?
Let's say Mare then, bottom of Mare, I think, in this one.
Okay.
All right, The Tale of the Crimson Clown, the penultimate episode. It's an evil clown doll that ends up haunting or going after a bad kid who steals his brother's money. He's just basically a bit of a dick kid. That in itself isn't particularly interesting. However, However, this episode does have some strong visuals and creates kind of like what I call poltergeist scare vibes, where things seem larger and more intense than they actually are. Obviously, using the clown doll is always an inspired decision because clowns are scary to many different people, and the clown doll looks pretty good. But even then, that's used in clever ways. It's not just a doll; it's how that's used. For example, I do remember vividly the sight of the life-size version with the person
Mm.
wearing a costume effectively. That looked really, really cool. However,
Mhm.
outside of that, there's nothing else I remember about this episode.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, I think the only thing I recall is like you said, a lot of like creativity involving using the clown in creative ways and like the scares and stuff like that being quite inventive. But other than that, I can't really remember like the resolution of it or anything particularly. I can't be to be honest.
Well, isn't it just
Um,
resolved that he ends up apologizing and becoming a better person? So at least there is supposedly a lesson here.
well, there you go. I mean, I'm considering I've been critical of other episodes for not having that. That's something. I mean, I can go to okay, I suppose that'll be fair.
Yeah, better or worse than the Tale of the Midnight Ride? It's better than the Midnight Ride. I can't stand Ichabod Crane's story.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe have we put that too high? Maybe I don't know.
No, it's fine with this because none of these are going to move on anyway. But let's put it in the middle because I think the Dollmaker's got better visuals.
It does, yeah.
And last but not least, the tale of the dangerous soup. It's Dr. Vink. It's a Dr. Vink episode, and he is making soup that basically has an ingredient, a special ingredient of fear that he secretes from his employees by putting them into situations or scenarios where an evil gargoyle gets into their mind and finds what scares them the most and basically extracts it, which is a clever idea in itself. However, what really makes this episode stand out, aside from the strong acting from a cast that includes Nev Campbell, of as a youngster as well. What really makes this episode stand out is the depth it will go to, involving certain people's fears. Two characters in particular, the main two, have deeper fears, and the episode really tries to deal with that as best it can in a very short amount of time. Compared to other Dr. Vink episodes, this isn't the strongest for what he is and what he can do, but he's still got that vibe, he's still got that feel, and it's always great to see him. I am very warm to this episode. I don't know if it's the best, but
Mm.
certainly it's a good episode. I don't know if you've got anything to add to convince me or otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dr. Vink, the bar is so high with him, so it's like it's kind of difficult, but it feels like it just is missing that extra something. There's something not quite right. Maybe it's the gargoyle thing. It doesn't look that great, the whole visual of it flying out doesn't look good. And like you said, there's some issues with like the concept in terms of like they could have gone a bit deeper with the whole fear thing and the eating the soup and stuff like that. They could have added a little bit of something. It's just missing that, ironically, it's missing like an extra ingredient or like a spice, if you will, you know,
Nice.
to
Needs
the soup.
seasoning.
A little bit of seasoning, yeah, I think so. It doesn't quite make the cut of the best, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we were critical of the ending as well.
Yes, I think it can go in good, but not the best.
I agree, ain't good, but I think the Tale of Apartment 2 and 4 is better as well.
That's a far more memorable episode. Yeah.
There we go. That's unexpected, but we do only have one
Mm.
that goes through to the final round. But we need to do this. This needs to be strict like this. Otherwise, we'll end up with 50 freaking episodes at the end, and it'll be pointless. I'm hoping that by the end, our last tier list will have maybe we'll have 13, like a tier, the same length for the seasons. That's all we'll have to decide between, because that narrowing down is going to be a nightmare in itself. So the fact that it's just the tale of the dream goal, and I do feel like that is 100% correct. That is the strongest episode of the season, so it
Mm.
deserves to go through.
Yeah, on quite a forgettable season, I think, is if it's fair to say in many ways. And I think looking back at this, it kind of backs that up. But I like to think that we've been, we're definitely critical, but I think we try and be as fair as possible. I think this is where we put these is very fair. I think they're in the positions they deserve to be in. And but I'm looking forward to the final point when we get to the discussing what the best ever is, because I feel like it's going to come down to a battle of like either Dr. Vink versus Dr. Vink or like Dr. Vink versus Sardo, like who has the best of those two, which is like that seems like the most predictable route.
It is insane. Whenever I think about this specific tier list, I already have what I believe right now is the number one episode. I already have it in my head. It's still there, and it's like, will
Mm,
anything top that one? And it's
mm,
season 2 episode, I believe. So right now, and it
mm.
is a Dr. Vink episode as well. So you should be able to put all that together. But that doesn't mean it will stay there. And obviously, when we discuss things, our minds can be changed. But for now, we do agree on the Tale of the Dream goal as being the one to go through. That is our ranking of the episodes of season 3 of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Have you got any thoughts on it? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments and look out for our review and talk throughs of season 4. It starts soon. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.